Um, it's goodness on this call. Please 1 minute, guys. I don't know why I'm having difficulty recording this class.
It's recording now, ma.
It's recording now, ma.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think I can see the icon. Thank you. Let me present again. All right. So we were talking about like the importance of UI design. So the first impression always matters because once a user just log in, like go to an application, and then they see things are not properly arranged, like everything is just disorganized, the colors are not beautiful, they don't get to stay long in that kind of application. Most people just want an application that is fine, even more than an application that is actually working. They just want to have a beautiful interface. In fact, most people often think that beautiful applications are better than some other applications because they are actually beautiful. So for organizations or businesses that want to retain their customers or have a good face in the public, it's very important for them to actually go through the UI design process. And also, it's good for usability and conversion, just like I've mentioned. When a product is very easy to use, and then users are really very comfortable completing tasks in that particular product, they tend to stay longer as against product that they have to go through a lot of hassle to be able to complete a particular task. For them to actually just send a message to someone, they have to go through lots of clicks and go through so many processes. It's not really very appealing for them, and they don't tend to actually stay long in that kind of products. They want to go to products that are really very easy to use, and they don't have to go through so much stress to actually use that product. And also for product branding, most times some organizations already have a brand color or a primary color, and then you want to design your product to be able to, portray that personality that the company is trying to show to the public. So the kind of colors that you use is going to be universal all around the product. Whether you are designing a mobile app, you are going to use that particular brand color. Or if you are designing a website, whatever you are designing, it's going to be uniform across board. And it's kind of maintains that company personality. So like over the past weeks, we've been talking about UX, and now UI. So it's very important to note that UX always comes first. It cannot be interchanged. You can't be designing a particular product for people without actually conducting in-depth research of that problem that you're trying to solve. So if in the future people tend to meet you or businesses tend to meet you and then they ask you to design a mobile application or a website, the first thing you want to know is, why am I designing this application? You have to be able to conduct your own research. You understand the business requirements. Try to get, okay, are you trying to design this website to improve people's visitation? or to improve user satisfaction, or you actually want to increase your conversion. All this why will guide you while you are actually designing the application. So you must actually focus on, why am I even designing this product? So focus on how the product will work and it will feel. So when you have actually done your due diligence in researching the users and why the business want this product, it will now help you to design a better interface for the users. So while UX focuses on how the product works and feel, UI focus on how it will look, like how it actually look for the users. So, while you are doing your UX research, you must have conducted done some kind of information. I'm trying to map, trying to get the scope of the product. So you want to know, for this particular version of product, you want to know, what do you want to achieve in this product? What are the goals of this product? So you want this product to be able to, so let's take, for example, WhatsApp. So the main problem that WhatsApp is trying to solve is communication issue. For somebody to be able to communicate to anyone despite physical location. So once you have, sorry, please, can you mute your mic? So once you have gotten the scope of how this product is going to work, UI is now focused on how this product will now look and feel. And it's also focused on the visual elements, like the elements like buttons, your colors, the fonts you want to use, the spacing, that is what UI is now focused on. So just I've also mentioned before, users always tend to feel that products that are beautiful are functional over other products. So that is why it's very important to really take note of the kind of thing that you are doing or the processes that you are following while doing your UI design. So there are various elements of UI design. The first is spacing. The location of how you place your elements on an application is really very important, because when you design an application that looks clustered, and then like you don't space the fonts and the buttons, you just put everything together, it's not really very pleasing to look in the eye. So you have to be very conversant of bringing in a lot of white space so that they can create a little bit of balance for users while they are viewing your application. And then you have layouts. Like different users tend to use applications with different devices. So a user can be using their WhatsApp, for example, on their laptop, and other users can be using their WhatsApp on their phones. So while designing, you have to be very conversant of different devices that users might be using it on. And whatever devices they are using it on, it should not change the layout or change the experience that they tend to have. The users should decide to use both websites and phones for a particular application today, they should not become confused because they are changing device, or where you place a button in mobile different from where you place a button in website. You have to make it very responsive so that the device that any user is going to be using is not going to change that experience for that users. Then typography is a very important element too in UI design. There are some fonts that you might use today and then it's not really readable. You can just see like a cursive handwriting or thereabout. So whatever font that you are using, you need to be very like you need to pay attention to the users that are actually using it. Most fonts that we use today are mostly inside because it's very readable. So like even if you want to use another font because you want to change how it will look and how it will feel, you have to make sure that these fonts that are using is big enough, and is very readable. Then we move to colors. Colors is also very important. If you are very observant, you notice that different colors have um different psychologies or different emotions that it invoke in human beings, and different organizations tend to use some particular colors over some other. So I would say, for example, we have the banking institutions. Most banks of today, most of them use blue color because it's more welcoming to people. And then most table waters we have today is mainly blue colors that they use. It's really very hard for you to find a table water and then you will see red colors, even though there are a few of them that we have. They are taking the idea of the blue ocean that we have. So different colors for different type of organizations, and then it kind of evokes some kind of emotions, just like when you are filling your inputs form, for examples. Most of the times you already know that when you make a mistake in your username, the color that is being used most of the time is red to signify that you just made an error. So it's going to be very weird for you to show an error message and you're using a blue color. Most of the times it's red. So all this the usage of colors is really very important when it comes to UI design, and it have to be used correctly. You know, you don't tend to use colors that are, when users look at it, they are very surprised. Say you want to give them an information message, and then you are using red, they will mistake it as is an error message. All these little things really very important in UI design. And we also have buttons. Buttons serve as a primary call to action. Like, you want a user to actually perform an action in an application. And buttons like sign in or sign up, or purchase a card, these buttons should not be, they should be very visible for users. When a user wants to look perform an action, they should not be confused on where to click and where not to click. But as we move further, we are going to be seeing practical examples of what I'm talking about. So I just brought like a sample of what a hero section of two hero sections, and we have the one by the left and the one by the right. And to my judgment, the one by the left is a bad hero section, and the one by the right is a good hero section. But I would like to hear from anybody around there why you think that I tagged this one by the left as a bad hero section. Okay, but I know what's but I hope you guys know what a hero section. Hero section is that part of the page where, like, if you're on a website or if you're on your phone, once once you go to a website, the first thing that you see, that depending on your device, before scrolling down, the first thing that you see is your hero section. Why once you scroll down, that is not a hero section again. So before scrolling, that section you see is your hero section. So I want to hear from anybody around here why you think I tagged this left picture as a bad hero section and the right as a good hero section. Who wants to go? Just unmute and speak, because I can't see anybody.
Okay, for one, why I think that the one on the left hand side um, tagged as a bad hero section is mainly because of the font. Because of the font, it's the font and the color, the font color basically that was used on it. It's not readable and it's not properly aligned. I
Okay.
think that's one.
All right. That's really a very good attempt. Is there anybody else that would want to say something about these two hero sections?
I would like to say something about the bad hero section.
Okay.
The bad intersection is just at the front. That means the heading is not that bold enough for people to see, to me. But the good intersection is once bold, like one can see it once and for all. Because the color in the bad intersection is too much on it. That's what I observe. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. That's you guys. You guys already know what this design thing is. It's like I will just leave and be going. That is really very commendable. So this the back hero section, like they already mentioned, you can see that the user is trying to, say portray the background color. The background color is green, yes. So when you are trying to design an application, leave the background colors for the primary actions, like the primary CTA, the primary buttons, where you have the links. Don't try to bring in so much of the background colors that it now becomes confusing for the users. When there are too many colors fighting for importance, it now tends to be very confusing. So that is the mistake of this bad hero section. Is trying to portray so much of that brand color, and the font color is not does not have a high contrast with the background color. So there is a website that you can actually use to check the contrast of your fonts and your background. Like most times when you want to design, you are designing for users, and then you have to be very important, or um you have to be very um sensitive of who you are designing for. So people, like most, when you're designing for somebody that is visually impaired, or someone that have color blindness, for example, you have to make use of high contrast design. So your font color should have a very high contrast with your background color. The same thing with your call to action buttons, or your links, or your other elements in your design. So this particular font color is green, and then the background is light green. You can see that it's not really giving so much importance to that font color, and it's making everything to just be flat, and there is no hierarchy. There is no um differentiation between much differentiation between the font and the background. And you can also see that this main text and the description below is not properly aligned. It's not looking like they are together. Like they are not. They what you call like uniformity in design. For elements that are supposed to be together, you need to arrange them to be very close to themselves, so that once a user is looking at it, they can see that, okay, this is the first thing I need to read. Then you read the second one. Then this is now the call to action. You are trying to lead the user following a particular sequence, and not giving them everything at once. It can become very confusing in the eye. So that is just the difference between these two hero sections. And by the bottom, you can see that this there is no much spacing. The background color, the background, this one below, like we're optimistic. It's just making everything to just be, the whole green is just popping in the eye. You cannot even have, the enough guidance to be able to read the text that is below. These are very little and minor things that we need to actually be very conversant about while we start designing applications for our users. So we move to the UI process. Just as we have UX process can be trying to do research, trying to, create some kind of questionnaires to ask our users to understand their pain points, and then you do some kind of mapping to kind of streamline your findings. All those whole thing is like a UX design process. So the same also goes to UI. UI also have a process. Once you want to design an application, you can't just come to Figma and start drawing rectangles and squares and then coloring it is is just more than that. You have to follow a process before you actually come up with what the users can now use. And for this UI process, just like the research that we mentioned, you have to conduct, your research, who you are designing for, and tend to understand these users, tend to understand their pain points and put yourself in their shoes. With whatever findings that you've gotten. Say, for example, you want to solve, what example would I use now? Say you want to provide a financial solution to people, and then you want to understand, okay, why are you not even using a card payment system? What is your pain point in using in using your debit card to make payments? And then you now tend to understand, okay, this is the reasons why I don't use my card to make payments on websites. When you are done understanding their pain points and their problems, you now propose a solution to these problems. Like, it doesn't just end on getting to know the problems. You have to provide solutions, your intended solution of how you actually want to solve these their problems. So once you have properly, like, gotten the solutions that you want to use to solve this problem, you now tend to sketch it. So sketching is just like drawing on a paper. You want to sketch, okay, first of all, they will see the login screen. Next, they will see the sign up screen. Next, they will see for them to input their card details, for them to be able to save their card details. You have to sketch it. Like, it's a process. You don't just come to Figma and then you start designing straight up what a login screen should look like, or what the card system should look like. You have to, first of all, start with wireframes, trying to design with just black and white design. And it's really very important to start with wireframing in designing. Though, to be very honest with you, like, Nigerian companies don't really want to go through that due process of designing an application. They just want to just give me what I want straight up. But then, if it's something that it is very, very important for you to go through, and if you have the time for you to actually do those things, it's very advisable for you to do it on the background while you are, talking with these businesses. So this wireframe is also very good because that solution that you've proposed for that problem, is just like an idea. And for you to be able to visualize your idea, you have to put it into a way that the businesses can understand or your users can understand. And that is the essence of using wireframes. It's less time consuming, and you don't have to go through the process of adding colors or making it look beautiful. You're just trying to design something that you want to show to the businesses and say, this is my proposed solution for this problem. Then once you are done with wireframing, you can now move a step further into adding colors and adding buttons and adding illustrations, or even some minor animations to make it, more visually appealing to users and make it very interactive. The whole process of adding colors and buttons can be very time consuming. That is the essence of actually going through the wireframing process. So once you are actually done with the whole designing process, if you now want to test this your solution or this your design to your users, you have to make it as real as possible. There is a feature on the Figma board that is for prototyping. Like we have a lot to cover based on design. So there's a feature, like, once you are done this and designing your different interfaces, you can now link those interfaces together using a prototype, so that when a user is trying to test your solution, as they are clicking to the next interface, it feels like a real application, but it's actually not a real application, it's just a prototype. So it's very important for you to test this your solution to your users, because most times when we've actually gotten the solution, we tend to think that solution is the best for our users. But it's always very important for us to get feedback from these people based on our prototype. Sorry. And then once we are done with prototype, we tend to now, based on the feedback that we've gotten from our testing, we tend to make some adjustments to our designs. Thank you. And then we can now push it out to our developers to develop it. So like for this cohort, we have different segments. So being product designers, you tend to design some we tend to design an application, and then developers will now tend to code it for people to actually use. So that is the process most times in UI design. So also we have the principles of a great usability. For a user to, for a product to be actually be usable for people, there are some principles that we have to follow in order to make this application to be very usable. And the first is users will not require instructions. It's very weird. Like, when TikTok came out, there was no video on this is how to use TikTok. I think I'll need water. Please give me a minute. Okay. So sorry about the glitch. Okay. Are you guys still here? Hope I'm not the only one that.
No, we are
We are
still
here.
here.
Yes, so we are here.
Yeah, with
Doing
you,
well.
ma. Right on.
All right. Okay.
Right
Yeah,
on.
ma.
With you.
With you, ma.
All right. All right. That's great. So, like I was saying, the principles of a great usability. Like for different for different products, for you to be easily usable by different type of users. By the time you start advancing your career, you tend to follow some kind of principles when you are designing for visually impaired people and people who are colorblind, or people who are physically impaired that don't have hands and all of those. So whatever range of people that you're designing for, you have to make your product to be usable by any kind of person all over the world. So that, okay, you want to say something? She's so. Okay, you have to make your product be usable by anybody all over the world, so that someone that is in Africa, for example, should be able to use your product, and someone that is in Nigeria or someone that's in Europe, sorry, should be also be able to use your product. So, and for this to happen, there are some principles that you have to follow. And it's not just only about people who are in different locations or people that are not physically impaired. It also involves people with their level of education. So someone with a PhD should be able to use a product, and somebody that has not even gone to any university at all, does not have any formal education, should also be able to use a product. So say for example, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is very usable for even people that have not, even for secondary school students, is not hard to understand. It's very self-explanatory. You don't need to have a video of trying to teach your users how to use my product, watch this to know how to click to this. Your product should be very easy, and every user should just know that this is where I have to go to find this. If I want to change my profile picture, this is where I have to go to change my profile picture. Or if I want to look for a particular user or try to send a message, there are different tasks that people should be able to perform in your application. And it is very important for you to make the task completion process very easy, and with even easier, and with lesser clicks. So um if a user, for example, uses your product today, and then you don't tend to use it for 2 weeks, and then you come back to your product, that user should not be trying to find, okay, where did I even actually go to do this, or where did I even go to send this message. It should be very usable. It should be memorable. Like even if it takes a very long time. Say for example, anybody that did not visit TikTok for 6 months can still come back to TikTok and still know that you have to swipe up to go to the next video. It's really very easy. Like you don't have to go through another learning process in order to use that product. And these are the things you have to really consider when you are designing applications for anybody or for any organizations. Then for error prevention, people make mistakes. Like you can mistakes are really very inevitable. And for people who are using your application, you should not, your application should be very forgiving. You can't see my screen. Are you guys see my screen?
Yes, I guess it's a network.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So your application should be very, very forgiving. When people tend to make mistakes, you don't you don't tend to throw them, like say for example, I am trying to what example will I use now? I'm trying to, okay, say for my laptop, I'm trying to restart my laptop, for example, or I'm trying to shut down my laptop, and then I want to shut it down, or I want to restart my laptop, and instead of restarting, I mistakenly clicked on shut down. The application should be able to show some messages like, are you sure you want to shut down? Or say for example, I have a contact on my phone, and then I mistakenly press on delete. There should be a warning message like, are you sure you want to delete this message, to make sure that this is not a mistaken act. you know for 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 tasks like that, they should be able to find a way to forgive your users, even if they mistakenly clicked on what they're not supposed to click on, especially if it's sensitive stuff like delete or archive, or all those things that once it's gone, it's gone. And then maybe if they are trying to fill their form, and then once you just input something they're not supposed to be imputed, the form now tends to restart over again. They have to start, you know, um, trying to refill the form all over again. Your application is not tend to be forgiving for them. And also, it's very important that whatever you're trying to design, it should be really pleasant for them to see. So I think for this first phase, I'm done with what I have for today. I want to actually hear if there are any questions that anyone has for all the long thing I've said. Okay, is someone raising their hand? Please, you can go on with the question.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Opera Helen from Imo State. Sorry, ma'am. My network delayed me. I came in few minutes after you started. I want to know the topic for today's class, ma, please.
Okay. What we are actually doing today is user interface design. So for the past few weeks, you've been learning about UX, that's user experience. So today is
Okay.
just the foundation of what a UI design is.
Okay, the foundation. Okay, ma. Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right.
So, ma'am, good evening, ma.
Okay.
Please, ma, when you were talking about the bad hero front and a good hero front, you were mentioning high construct and low construct. I didn't really understand what you meant by that. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I think I can share my screen again to explain that. All right. Okay. For this particular, let me take it. Let me take the two different hero sections one by one. This first one by the left, this one that has lots of green color. The text, this don't miss amazing grocery deals and offers. You can see it's not really very, like, it's not really very readable in the eye because of the color on the font and the color on the background. So the colors on the font and on the background is very similar, that for somebody that is, that have color blindness, for example, might not even see this text, might not be able to notice that there's a text of "Don't miss amazing grocery deals and offers" on this background. But they'll most likely see this second part: "Be source and sell the very best beef," because the color that is used on this um top on this description text, this description text has higher contrast than the background color. So when you say contrast, you can say, let me take for example black and white. When you use a black text on a white background, you tend to easily read that text, as against this green text that is on this light green background. It has a lower contrast as against this one by the right hand side, the hero section by the right hand side, where you have a black text on a very fainted light green background. You can see that this the heading of the left hero section has a higher contrast than the heading on the left hero section.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So like
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. So like even on this below side where there is a green background. There's a website that you can use you can use for you can use to check color contrast. The website I normally use is not paid, it's free. So let's check for this first one. I don't know, it's very hard for me to get the color. Okay, there's something I can do. Sorry. So let's get the colors of this text and the background, so that just don't worry about the Figma I'm using. I'm just trying to get the colors. So the text color for this first one is this, and then the background color is this. So now let's get for this second side. The text color for this is, let's just use this color picker, is black color, and then the text color for this is this. So if we want to check the contrast of this heading, just this heading, for example, and then the background color is this, you can copy the color code from here. We go to this color contrast checker website, and then you can see text color and background color. We input for the background color, and we come to take for the text color. So you can see here the contrast is very poor. Small text, large text is really very poor. That is why it's not really advisable to use. Say somebody that wants that is in the application like under the sunlight outside, for example, they might not be able to even see this text, this heading while they are outside, because of the color. The color contrast is very low. Now let us check for this good hero side. It's the text color here is black, while the background color here is this. So you can see the contrast here is super 19.0. It's very perfect. Do you understand? So that is where the color contrast. So you can also be checking this. You can also use this this website to be checking your colors if you are not so sure if what you are designing has a high contrast or not. And it's really very important for you to follow this high contrast, you know, like in your design, because you are designing for different kind of people, like probably all over the world. So you don't want your product to be directed to some particular persons, and some will not be able to use it. That is why it's very good to take notice of all these minor things in your design. Is that another question? Sorry, the last person that asked about contract, do you understand it now?
Yes, ma, I understand it very well now. Thank you so much, ma.
All right. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Is there any other question?
Yes, ma. Good evening, ma.
Okay.
My question, can I go on, ma?
Yes, please. Yes, you can.
Okay. About the contrast and the website about. What's the website, ma'am?
The website. Okay, let me just. I'll paste it on this group call. I can also paste it on our group chat. So I'll paste it here right now.
Okay, okay.
Just here.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So is there any other question?
Good evening, ma.
Okay.
Okay, most of us some of us are completely new to this UI design stuff, and it took a while before I was able to get the hero that you're talking about. If it was the heading, the up tab where the home and everything is, or if it was the main display of the advertisement and the focus. So I don't know what else we're going to be doing about that.
Okay. So apologies for not, properly explaining the different concepts I was using. So for this particular section, like I actually mentioned it, but let me try to emphasize it a little bit. So the hero section, there is unmuted. Please, can you mute your mic? Okay. The hero section is that part on the web page where you tend to see before you scroll. So let me just go to, I think I'm still showing me. What website can I go to? Um, website. So this particular section that just appears before I scroll down, like this very first part of my laptop that is being shown here is my hero section. That's the page that appears before users tend to scroll down to the page to see the different things that are below the hero section. So whatever, like even if you are on your mobile phone and then you go to your website, that first thing you tend to see on your phone is what we call the hero section. And most of the times, designers we tend to, put more emphasis on that hero section while we are trying to design, because that is like the first impression when any user comes to your website. So you want to make that hero section to be really very appealing in the eyes. Most times you tend to see the biggest pictures or the biggest illustrations, and then you see like lots of colors playing around or even animations being on that hero section, because it's like the first thing that every user will tend to see. And then you want to actually make that part of your web page very interesting, so that you can even make the users to want to, okay, let me now see what is in this web page. They'll now want to scroll down to see more about your website. Like do you understand now? So this particular side is what's called the hero section.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So is there any other question? Have you guys actually have they put you through on Figma? Because I think when somebody was saying something, they mentioned introduction to Figma or something.
No, we only worked on Fig
Big
Jam.
jam.
That was what we worked on, not Figma, that's Fig Jam.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I want to touch very briefly so that we don't stay long. The second section of my today's class, just to touch very briefly of the tool Figma. But there will be no much activities on it. It's just so like an introduction of the kind of tools that we use in design. And let me share my screen. So basically, there are actually different tools that you can use for your designing. And we have Figma, we have um Adobe XD, we have Adobe XD, we have what other one again? We have this one for Mac, but most of the ones that designers use is Figma. That is what I use. But then you can also use Adobe XD if you want to. So, how many of us have a Figma account? Maybe I have to even start from. How many of us have the Figma desktop, or we are still using Figma website, Figma on website? Where is
We are using
Raise my hand.
okay? You have the Figma. Okay, let me just let me start afresh for people that. So, well, we all have laptops, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
No, ma, I don't have.
a laptop. Okay,
For
so
now.
okay. So they are actually you can still use Figma. If you have a laptop, you can borrow from your friend or from anybody that has. Maybe you want to say something. Like if you actually want to design, it's almost impossible to design with your mobile phones. To be very honest, it's almost very impossible. So it's very important that this particular class will not dive deep into the practical aspects. But from our next class, I'm going to be, showing, I'm going to be doing more of practical. So it's very important for you to make provision for laptop. Either you borrow from your friend or you can pick up your own, however you want to, for this particular section. So that we don't, so that we are not left out during the course of the class. So Figma, you can actually have to download a Figma, or you can just use it online on website. But most times it's better for you to have the desktop downloaded on your system so that it kind of reduce the memory, the web memory. Because if you are designing on web, it's the memory is loading on your website, and then it can tend to drag that laptop. So it's better for you to actually have the desktop installed on your laptop. So if you don't have the Figma tool installed already, just go to Google and type download Figma, or download, or just Figma download, whatever. So depending on whether you are using a Mac or a desktop, you can download either for desktop or for Mac iOS. So once you browse on Figma download, then you can see these different options. Desktop app, desktop app for Mac iOS if you're using a Mac, if you're using Windows. Then this mobile app, you can also download Figma on your mobile app, but I haven't actually tried designing with mobile app. But what I use the mobile app for is while I am designing on my laptop, I can just be seeing different interfaces of what I'm designing on my mobile app. So, say for example, I'm trying to design a login screen that is that is that is mobile, and I want to see how it will look in real life. I can just go and click on that login screen, and then I'll be viewing it from my mobile app to now see, the real reflection of actually what I'm designing. I don't know if I can show you, get an example in this code, but I have to also share. Um, no, it's not possible. Okay, but that is actually what I use my mobile app for. So just see what I'm designing on my desktop. How it's actually going to look in real life. So Depending on whether you're using your Windows or your Mac, you can just, I'm using Mac, you can just click on it and then you, no, and then you proceed to download. This should not be downloading. And then you proceed to download. So once you've downloaded your Figma, this is the first thing you now get to see. You just open it and then you see your name, you sign in, you see your name, you see everything. And you tend to log in. It's very difficult for me to go through that login process because I already have the app installed. But once you open the Figma application, this is what you tend to see. You can see on this left panel, on this left navigation bar, you get to see all your files that you have. You can see all projects, you can see drafts, my work. You know, you get to see all, if you are in different projects, you tend to see the different projects that you are currently. Then on the right section, you have the new design file. This is used for both your design and your prototype. We'll go through that later on. Then the Fig Jam, that is what you guys have already mentioned. Then there's a new feature of designing slides with Figma. We won't look at that. Then you can also import external files. Say for example, you have already designed in Adobe XD, for example, you can bring it into your Figma, so you're able to design into it. So we want to create a new design file. You click on this new design file and then you create it. If you want to create a new Fig Jam board, you click on the new Figma Jam and then you create it. So just below these sections, you can now see all the files that you have been designing in. So, yeah, like here I have lots of design files I've been designing. So you can just see lots of them just below. You can see recently viewed, shared files, shared projects. It just shows you all the whole board. We call it Figma board. It just shows the different design, your different projects that you must have done, like in the past. So you can just go to any of them and then click on it to go to that particular project. So, but since we want to create a new design file, you just click on this new design file, and then it takes us to create a new Figma board. So this is a new update anyway. So on this new Figma board, yeah, it's showing the title of that Figma board, and presently we are giving a title. So we can just name it design course. You know, for the course of this class, you can just name it design course, and then you can see it now changes here on this section here that it's design course. Then here we have the file. Here is the pages. You can create as much pages as you want. You know, as you are creating, this is page 1, page 2, page 3. You can decide to even name your pages. Say you want to make this first page to be the login screen. You make your second page to be the sign up screen. You know, you can just name your pages as you want. Then dashboard. Those like the different pages you can create. You can create more than one page. That is for this left side. Then on this other side of the Figma board, we have the design. That's what I've been talking about all along. Then prototype. That is if you actually want to link your two devices together. But we'll dive into that later on. But for now, we are going to focus on just design. So just below this, I hope you guys can still see my screen. Just below the Figma board here is what you'll be designing with. So from this segment to this segment, this is your board. This is what you'll be seeing. This is where you'll be designing whatever you want to design. You can design on this empty space, open here. So let's just start with just creating very little shapes. Like, say you want to create a rectangle, you come below here, you can see different shapes that you can create. You can create rectangle, you can create line, you can create arrow, you can create circle, you can create triangle, star, and you can even import an image or video into this Figma board. So say you want to create a rectangle, we just come here, we pick on the rectangle and we come here and then we create it. So you can see it's very easy. If you want to create a circle, you come here, you click on the circle ellipse, you create it, you come. Then if you are using Windows, I think you have to click on it says select. When you click on this particular, you click on the circle, then you click and hold. You click on your mouse or you click on your desktop, you click and you hold, and then you draw whatever shape you want to create. So if you want to make the circle bigger or smaller, while you are clicking, you are holding it and you are making that shape. So the same thing goes with, say you want to create star, you click and you hold. You click and you hold while you draw the shape that you want to make. All right. Then that is that about shapes. This particular one is about shapes. So let's go to this first one. This is a move tool. If you want to change your mouse to move, that is when you click on a particular element, you can move it easily. You can move it easily. Why this next one, which is hand tool, is maybe when you are trying to present and you don't want to mistakenly move elements in your Figma, you can click on this hand tool so that you see I'm trying to click on it to move it. I cannot move a particular element, but I can only move the entire board, but not a particular element. That is what this hand tool is for. So you cannot use this hand tool to design. You can only use the move tool to design. So the next one is a scale. So the scale is for you to be able to scale in proportion of any element. So once you click on this scale, and then you click on the particular elements you want to scale, say this rectangle, so you scale it. You can see it is reducing in proportion. The length is reducing alongside with the height, is in proportion. The same thing with this circle. If you want to scale it, you can scale it together. It is reducing in proportion. Because if you want to use this move tool to scale, you can just be scaling and then you realize that this left side is not moving in proportion with you can see how the scene is just moving. It's not moving in proportion with, it's not reducing in proportion with the height and the length. So that is where the scale tool comes in. So this next one here is we have the frame, the section, and the lines and the slides. For the beginners class, we're going to focus on the frame. So there are scenarios where you would want to design a phone application or you want to design a website, and then you will need to design a website, for example. So like you will need to design based on the device that you want to design for. So yeah, on this frame, once you click on frame, there are different frames you can use. You can design for phone, you can design for tablet, you can design for desktop, for a presentation, for even watch, paper, social media, Figma company, and Figma community and the rest. So say you want to design for a phone application, for a phone, for example, there are also different options you can choose for. You can do iPhone 14. Once you click on any of this option, it just appears here. So this is for iPhone 14. And if you want to design a login screen, you can design all your whole designs in this frame. You can't design outside this frame. You have to design inside this frame. So the same thing, if you want to design for iPhone 8 or for Android small, you just click on that Android small and then that frame appears. So still on this frame also, if you don't want to design for phone and then you want to design for tablets, for example, you click on this tablet and then it drops down the different options on the tablet. So here we have the iPod, the iPad. So you have to click on it. It shows that particular frame that you want to design on. So it just goes on and on like that. Now we don't want to design for tablets. We want to design for desktop. So once you click on desktop, you can see MacBook Air, Pro, desktop, wireframe, TV. Whatever device you want to design for, there is a frame for it. So when you are designing for a mobile app or designing for a website, you just click on the frame according to what you want to design for. So say you want to design for a website, and then you click on desktop. Like this is the most used frame that developers like using. So most times, if you want to design for most times, developers just love it when you design with a desktop. So when you want to design for a website for beginners, you can just use this desktop framework for websites. Why for phones? Why for phones? Most times they prefer using this Android small. You know, just using this iPod and this Android small. Then also on frames, so it just goes on and on like that. If you don't want to design for desktop, if you want to design for watch, you just go and click on the frame that you want to use. Do you understand? So that is it about designing for different devices. So like I said, it's not only restricted to people that are using phones. You have to also design for people that are using websites or people that are using iPad, for example. Whatever device that they are using, you can also design for them. Then we've spoken about shapes. This is about shapes. If you want to create different shapes. Okay, let us try to import an image. For example, I have different image here. So let's say pictures. Where do I have my images? Okay, let's say I've selected this particular image and then I want to import it into my Figma board. I just click on the image, or you can even import an icon or an illustration. Whatever you want to import, you can just find it and then you click on that particular image and then you import it. Once you click on it, you can see how the image is already moving. So you can decide to place this image outside the frame, or you can decide to place it in any of the frames. So once you place it in any frame, it takes the position of that frame. So you can see how it's just zoom out because you place it on a desktop. Now, let us place the same image outside the frame, and then we'll see how it will appear. Let's place it outside the frame. You can see it's now appearing fully. But once you place the same image in a particular frame, it takes the this the size of that particular frame. So that's about importing image or even importing videos. Then this pen tool and pencil tool is if you want to draw your shape by yourself. So you don't want to use the already predefined shapes that are here already. You just want to draw your own, and then you pick the pen. You can just click, you click, you click, you're just drawing your own shape. And when you are done, you just click on the tool again, and then it forms a shape. So you can see you have formed your own shape. So if you don't want to use this already predefined shapes that we have here, you can just use from this pen tool to form your own shape. So this pencil tool is for drawing, but you might not really use it most of the times. Then the next one here is once we are done with like a brief introduction of this Figma, we will call it a day. From our next class, we'll now really dive deep into this Figma tool. So on this next icon here, we have text. So once you click on the text, you can come here and then you click on where you want to put that text, and you can start writing. So you can say login screen or welcome to my YouTube channel. So whatever you want to type, you just come to where you want. Once you click on this text, and then you just click on where you want to put the text, and then you start typing. That is it about. So whatever you type, you can see on this right side, you can see the properties or of this particular text. So say for this particular text, the default font type is Inter. But say I want to change it, you just go to this typography side, and then you click on, I want to change this font type to this particular one, and then you click on it. You can see it has changed. Or I want to change it to another font type, you can click on it. Or I want to even increase the size to like 48 or bigger, you can click on it. Whatever size you want to increase it. Or I want to even change the color, you can come here where you have this fill black color, you change it to another color. So you can see it's changing. If you want to change it to blue, you don't adjust it from here, and then you change. You can still change. If you also want to add stroke to it, and then you want the stroke to have another color, you can play with a lot of things. There's no really restriction to how you can design your, like, even if you want to add effect, say you want to add shadow on this color, and you can see it's already showing shadows on this color, then you can even change it. You can work on the color of your shadow. You can change you can just play with a lot of things. You can change the percentage of the color if you want it to be thicker or lighter. So we're just trying to change only this text, not even the other element that we might find on this particular on a particular screen. So you can play with a whole lot of things. Then for this next icon here, that is comment section. So most times we are going to be working closely with our developers, and then if maybe we have different screens, and then we are trying to leave a comment for them, you can just click on this comment section. You can see the comment section below here. You click on it, and then you go to where you want to leave a comment. So you can just go to this screen here, you click on the comments, and then you say, this is my login screen. This is my login screen. So if, for example, presently I'm just the only one on this particular board. But say, for example, you also have different people on this board, and then you want to tag them, you can just write at, you call the person's name. The person's name can be I already have different people here. You can just call the person's name. Person's name can be, for example, you want to tag this person to this screen, and then you just tag this person and you click on enter. So these are the ways to leave comments on different sections in the page. So I think like this Figma is a lot. So I want to take it gradually. Like in our next class, we will continue to dive deep into this Figma tool. But presently, I think we can call this a day so that I don't have to, bombard you guys with so many things at the same time. Then while you're at home, you can just go through the Figma board, go through what I've done presently, what I've showed you. Just try to create shapes, try to play around with different elements on the Figma board. So you can be very conversant with this tool. So that in our next class, while I'm taking a step further into the different areas on this Figma, so that we don't, like it doesn't get confusing for us. So is there any questions based on this second phase of our classes, or you can also ask questions on the first phase too as well? Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, I just want to ask if we are going to be using another tool than other than Figma.
Okay.
Are we going to be using another tool?
Yeah, we can also use Adobe XD. So I can just, but presently I use Figma. Like all my years designing, I've always been using Figma to design. I just love Figma. But then I can also introduce to you guys the Adobe XD, so that as you are moving your career, you can now choose if you want to use the Figma or if you want to use Adobe XD. And again, like this tool, it depends on the organization that you're working in. Some organizations will just tell you that you want a designer that can use Figma. Some will say we want someone that can use Adobe XD. So it's very important for you to know how to use both tools in case you find yourself wanting anyone. Are there any questions? Do you guys fully understand this tool? Was it confusing at any point? The Figma tool, was it confusing at any point? You can say in the comment section if there was any part of the class that was confusing to you. So you guys fully understood. It seems you have already been very conversant with. Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, you said we are going to design for different screens, different devices. How do you present them on different devices? It's not supposed to be like, it's not supposed to be uniform, like one type of design, then it shows in different type of presentation or device or anything. How would it cooperate?
Okay, like how do I put it? Like for different projects, for example, say you're trying to design for a website, and then you're trying to design for a mobile application. So my different devices was coming in based on projects. So say for project A, I want to design a website. So for project A, I will have to use desktop frame to design project A. And throughout that project A, I will use just desktop frames for throughout that project A. But for project B, I want to design a mobile application. So I cannot come and use desktop for project B because I'm designing a mobile application. I have to go and use a mobile application frame to design for project B. And once I choose a frame for a particular product, that is the frame I will use for the entire product. Except in cases where you are trying to design both website and then responsiveness, because there are projects, because there are products where, like for websites, you have to design a website when they are viewing it on the laptop and when they are viewing it on the phone. So for when they are viewing it on the website, you use only desktop frame all throughout the website design. Then when you now start designing for mobile, you will use only mobile frame for all throughout that mobile application. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
whatever frame that you now choose to use, whichever one, like for desktop, you can say I want to use desktop um, phone for iPhone. That means once you have chosen this iPhone 14, this is going to be your frame all throughout the product. Do you get?
Yes, I do. What about cases that like it's the same website, but the way it's seen on the phone is far different from the way it's seen on a desktop? Just like WhatsApp now, the way we have it on our application, if we try to open it on our desktop, it's totally different. Either you're going to design separately for these devices, then how do you now output it?
Yes, that's yes. If you want to okay, let's use website for example. If you want to design your sorry, let's use WhatsApp. If you want to design WhatsApp for your laptop, and then you will now have to use a desktop, a desktop frame. That means you have to segment it into different categories. For the first category, this is how it's going to look on a laptop. So you can say category 1, this is how it will look on a laptop. So you now use different desktop frames to design for the laptop category. And when you now move to phone category, you now have to use the phone frame to design for the phone category. So you are trying to make a particular, okay, is there any reps, is there any this thing I can use to show you an example? I'll have to go to my personal so I can really understand what I'm saying. Sorry, it's loading. It's not, um, um, okay, this is a perfect example. So you can see this particular side is for a website design. So this is how it's going to look on a website. So you can see this is how it's going to look on website. Then this same website design is also going to appear. You have to also design it for a mobile. So whichever device that a particular user is coming into, they are going to see the same thing, but they are going to see it in different ways. So you can see this same thing is also designed on the mobile side. So for people that are trying to code what they are designing, you have to show them how it will look on both when a user is trying to see a particular website on a laptop and when they are also trying to view it on a phone. But this is exactly the same website, but you have to make it responsive. You answer your question. So you can see that on this website side, I'm using a particular frame for everything concerning the on everything concerning the laptop view. Right, when we now go to the mobile view, you have to use the same frame on everything concerning the mobile view. Do you understand now?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? Are there any other questions? You can just unmute and speak if you are raising your hand.
Okay, good evening.
Okay, ma. So, good evening, ma.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, if I'm to understand well now, you mean to say those apps that are available on desktop and also available on phone are designed separately, like the mobile websites are designed separately, while the desktop websites are designed separately.
Yes, actually. You have to, in
Okay.
fact, there's
One more question. There are sorry. There are some websites. There are some websites like on Android phone now. There are some websites in which if you view on Android phone, there is this option on Chrome that will allow you to view the desktop mode, the desktop site.
sorry, I don't get your second definition.
Like there are some websites that you view on phone. Like there's this in Chrome, in a Chrome browser. While viewing the website, there's this setting that you can check to view the desktop site.
Yeah. So what's
So
your
we can
question?
also view the website on phone too.
You can also view websites on phone.
Like the desktop site.
Okay, I think let me like I'm using this thing website, but I think if you want to view on how it will look on your phone, is it like is this what you're asking? Hello, can you hear me?
I don't. Yes, I can hear you now.
Like, can you see my screen?
Yes, the desktop app, right?
So is this what you're asking for you to be able to view on desktop and on both mobile and laptop?
Yes.
So what exactly is your question? I'm having difficult to
My
understand.
question is those websites which you can view their desktop mode on your mobile, are they still like the main desktop mode that we are viewing on the mobile? Did you get my question?
Okay, like for example, what you're asking, like I am viewing this particular screen as a mobile. If I should go to mobile, is this what I'm going to see on my mobile?
Yes.
Yes, this is like a preview of how it will look. But before this preview even comes, you as a designer, you have to actually design how it will look on mobile and how it will look on laptop before the developers can now code based on what you have designed. Do you understand?
Okay.
So
Thank you, ma.
this
Yes, I
thing
get
cannot
it now.
play with without your design.
Okay.
So like the same way that I just showed um you like different. So this is like a website view, and this is like a mobile view. So before you can be able to see those different options on your Chrome, you must have designed how it is going to look so that our developers can now code it based on your design. So that is why you are now able to see both the laptop view and the text and the mobile view because you have designed how it's going to look. So it's first of all start from your design before it's now pushed to life for different users. So are there any other questions?
Yes, please.
All right.
Okay, good evening. I wanted to ask, in a case where we have users with Android phones and then iPhones, do we also like create prototypes for Android phones, iPhones, then the desktop um wireframes?
Most times it's always based on, you can also create prototype for different phones if you want to, but most of the times it's always based on the, like say for example you want to design for desktop, you create prototype for desktop and then you just create prototype for mobile phone. You don't have to start creating for Android, you create for iPhone. Then if you want to now create for desktop, you start creating for Mac, you create for Windows, you create for Lenovo, like different, like it doesn't really matter the type of mobile device or the type of laptop. You just create prototype for desktop users, create prototype for mobile users, create prototype for iPad users. It doesn't really matter the type of device, if it's an Android or an iPhone, it doesn't really matter. Do you understand?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, or we can call it a night? Okay, so I think what you guys can just do is not really an assignment that you have to, just at your free time, because our next class is on Friday, 10 times 6:30. So at your free time, you can just try to download the Figma desktop app on your laptop and just try to, play around different elements, play around different things that I've spoken about today, so that it can be really very conversant with the tool as a whole. So that in our next class on Friday, as I'm going into the next level of what this tool can give, we can tend to now follow up. So, in the absence of no further questions, I think we can call this a night. Or is Mary, are you, your hand is still raised up, you want to speak? All right. All right, the class have come to an end.
Thank you. Good
I'll
night.
Yes. Look forward to meeting you guys again next class.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, good night.
Good night, ma.